are small shooting lies, and then there is the biggest shooting lie.
All right, I'm going to level with you all. Most important thing now is that you remain calm. There's no reason to panic. Now, it is true that one of the crew members is ill. Slightly ill. But the other two pilots are just fine. At the controls, flying the plane. Free to pursue a life of religious fulfillment.
Stephen Curry has been shooting almost his entire life. Some basketball observers believe Stephen is one of the NBA's purest shooters ever. But Stephen is living a lie. You see, Stephen doesn't square his feet to the basket like most coaches believe. Stephen is a turn shooter. Yes, Stephen Curry squares his shooting shoulder and hip to the basket. He does not square his feet to the basket. Stephen Curry isn't alone. There are others. The top NBA, WNBA, and college shooters and scorers all square their shooting shoulder and hip. Yes, the best players turn their feet when they shoot. Here you have two shooters, a high school freshman and a professional playing in Europe. They are both shooting in the left frame with the feet squared, and in the right frame with the shooting shoulder and hip squared and the feet turned. You can clearly see that the square frame looks uncomfortable. The shot looks very tense. The right frame with the shooter turning the feet looks more comfortable and fluid. It appears effortless. To square up, always. And I never wanted to disrespect my coaches because I wanted to believe my coaches were always right. So I always shot, and I was never a great shooter. And what bothered me was when I would go home, I would turn on the TV and I'd watch Marquette or UCLA or Indiana, and I'd watch all these players, and then I'd watch the NBA. And whether it was Lakers, Celtics, nobody squared up. But I still taught it though. Because I wanted to do what my coaches taught me. And I had good shooting teams, but I never had great shooting teams. And then about 10 years ago, my life completely changed. I was at a place called Calgary, Canada, and I had a basketball academy up there for about a year. And I had this one kid, Irving Chunk, and Irving could shoot the lights out. I mean, he was just a great, great shooter. But there was only one problem. Irving turned when he shot. He turned his feet. And he'd go out there and make 9 out of 10 threes. And like a dumb coach, I said, square up. That's not how you shoot. And every time he squared up, he missed. Every single time. And then finally I said, go back to your turn. And then he made all the shots. And what bothered me was not he was making or missing. What bothered me was every time he turned, it looked good. It looked like something I would see on TV. So that night I went home and I Googled and I typed in Michael Jordan's jump shot. And all these pictures, all these images came up of Michael Jordan shooting. And every shot, he was turned. Kobe Bryant, it didn't matter. All the best men players, all the best women players, that's how they shot.
Rookie of the year in the NBA and an NBA All-Star.
And then I realized this was the greatest lie in all of sports, because it's what every coach, or what almost every coach teaches, is you've got to square your feet. You've got to square your feet. There are two reasons why you don't square your feet, and they're very, very simple. There are two reasons why you turn. And when we talk about the turn, we shouldn't focus so much on the turn, but what we want to focus on is squaring the shooting shoulder and the shooting hip. That's the key to shooting. actually want to turn when you shoot a jump shot is, guys, what I want you to do is I want to completely square up. We're going to go one person at a time. We're going to put our arms straight down to the side. And what we're going to do, and our shoulders, and in a natural motion, I want you to put your arm up. I do not want you to pull it over. I want you to put it up naturally. Okay? When you're done, go to the end of the line. One at a time. Where are you? You're off to the right. Next person. Where are you? Off to the right. Next person. Where are you? Off to the right. Now what I want to do is we're going to come up here and we're going to turn our feet. And we're going to, I call it about 10:30. We're going to go to about 10:30. So this is 12, this is 11. We're going to go to about 10:30, which right now is the block. Okay, we're going to point our feet to the block. So we're going to square our shoulder and our hip. And what we're going to notice is as we go up, we are perfectly straight aligned to the basket. Where before, when we were off to the side, we're off by about 3 to 4 inches. So come up, one at a time. Where are you? Straight down the middle. Where are you? Straight down the middle. Straight down the middle. So the first reason why we turn is because it's accurate. Back in the 1930s or 40s, somebody wrote a book on shooting. And this is the philosophy that most coaches still subscribe to, that you've got to square up. There's only one problem. When you square up, your shoulder's on your side. You don't have it. If you were, you'd be a great shooter if you had a shoulder sticking out of your chest, but your shoulder's on your side of your body. And when it's on the side of the body, it makes no sense to square up. When you turn, you're going to align your hip, your shoulder, but your arm is naturally aligned as well.
Shoulders in the record books now. At the ballpark, Jay has a straight ball.
The second reason why you want to turn and not square is because when you square up, as you take the jump shot, your two shoulders are even. When you put your shoulders even, the tension from your shoulders goes into your neck, and then the neck goes into the shoulders. So basically, you've lost it right there, because what's happened is your shot has become one big spasm. When you turn, you're only using one shoulder. There is no spasm. And it's so much easier to shoot that way.
Menacing tattoo. Anthony will fire it. 44-63. Kyrie jumps. The bottom for three. Irving taking over the third.
One other thing that's very, very important about the turn is when you turn, you've always got your elbow in. I always hear coaches complain about the chicken wing, they call it, or the elbow out. The reason players have their elbow out, it's really simple, because they're squared up. They're off alignment by 3 to 4 inches. When I come in and I turn and I align my shooting shoulder and hip, I've always got my elbow in. I've never had to talk about elbow in to my players, because by turning, okay, by squaring the shoulder and hip, they've always got the elbow in.